Pre-Islamic Arabia was predominantly a nomadic society, characterized by constantly shifting tribal units. These Bedouin tribes, some of which still maintain their traditional nomadic lifestyles today, were the most significant political entities on the Arabian Peninsula. Their alliances were fluid, warfare was ongoing, and organized and centralized statehood was uncommon. These tribes emphasized kinship and family bonds, roving through the desert with lifestyle primarily consisting of sheep, goats, and camels, and living in tents with their immediate family members. Tribal leaders enforced the unwritten rules of Bedouin society. Bedouin tribes were patriarchal, inheritance passed to male offspring, while women could not inherit property and had very few rights. Women could be taken as spoils of war during tribal conflicts, and Bedouin laws permitted men to marry their captives. There was no set limit to the number of women a man could marry. Upon a man's death, his son would inherit all his wives except his own mother. Women had little say in their marriages, which were often arranged between a man and the bride's family, with property like camels or horses exchanged for a bride. Female infanticides also occurred, as the Quran refers to the pre-Islamic period of ignorance, when Arabs would bury their daughters alive. Bedouin men often viewed women as an economic burden and a potential source of shame, as capturing women from a tribe by hostile groups was considered humiliating in a conservative Bedouin society. In the absence of centralized states, with rare exceptions, there were no written laws, courts, or formal law enforcement. To protect its members, the primary goal of a Bedouin tribe was to ensure their safety. The pursuit of vengeance for the death of a tribe member by another tribe led to near constant warfare and conflict. Defending one's tribe and avenging relatives was seen as a great honor. The harsh living conditions of the Arabian Peninsula further reinforced the tribal system and the sense of identity within a tribe, as a mutual protection and economic cooperation often made the differences between life and death. French historian Maxime Rodinson notes, the free Arabs were bound by no written code of law, and no state existed to enforce its status. With the backing of a police force, the only safeguard for a man's life was a certainty established by custom that it would be dearly bought, blood for blood, and a life for a life. The vendetta, or the thar in Arabic, is one of the cornerstones of Bedouin society. Austrian historian Gustav E. von Gronbaum echoed this view, describing the situation in Arabia before the rise of Islam as a tribal guerrilla fighting all against all. Tribes clashed with each other, raided and plundered caravans in settled areas, and lawlessness was widespread throughout much of Arabia. To avoid attacks, caravans and settled communities often paid tributes to the raiding Bedouin tribes. While many tribes in Arabia continued their nomadic ways, some gained control over specific territories and transitions to a sedentary lifestyle. Mecca was effectively ruled by the Quraysh tribe, a group of skilled merchants who took control of the city around the 5th century. Meanwhile, Yathrib, later known as Medina, was dominated by the Arab tribes of Aus and Khazraj, as well as the Jewish tribes of Nadir, Qaynuqa, and Qurayza. Although the nomadic Bedouins looked down upon this sedentary lifestyle, referring to the town dwellers as a nation of shopkeepers, the rise of cities like Mecca was crucial in the development of a united Arab identity in pre-Islamic era. Mecca and Yathrib, both located in Hijaz, a region with a dependable water supply, were natural choices for settled life amidst the otherwise harsh climate and terrain of Arabia. Mecca was a major trade hub, through which caravans passed, and it housed the Kaaba, a sacred site in both Islam and pre-Islamic polytheistic Arabia, where statues of various tribal deities were placed. Greek historian Diodorus Siculus, who lived between 60 and 30 BC, described the Kaaba in his Bibliotheca Historica as a very holy temple, exceedingly revered by all Arabians. For instance, Hubal was a chief deity of Quraysh tribe in Mecca. Distribution in the usual trading routes through the Red Sea and the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers due to piracy and the Roman-Persian conflict led traders to prefer the routes through Mecca. Goods from beyond the Red Sea and from local Bedouin tribes were brought to Mecca, from where camel caravans transported them to the Levant. The Meccans established treaties with the Byzantine Empire and Bedouin tribes to ensure safe passage for their trading caravans. As a site of Kaaba, Mecca also held religious significance for polytheistic Arabs. Annually, Arabs from across the region would make a pilgrimage to the Kaaba and drink from the sacred Zamzam well. During this period, conflicts ceased, a truce was declared, disputes and debts were resolved, and trade occurred between tribes. Consequently, Mecca became the focal point of loose confederation of tribes around the city, with visitors required to adhere to Meccan rules. The city's trading potential and religious significance played a key role in uniting Arabs and shaping their national identity. Another notable city in pre-Islamic Arabia was Yathrib, which would later be called Medina. Located in fertile region of Hejaz, Yathrib grew into a key agriculture center and an important transit hub for the trade caravans traveling along the Red Sea. Initially, Yathrib was predominantly inhabited by Jewish tribes, but over time, several Arab tribes settled here and gained political and economic influence within the city. While the Arabs were mainly involved in agriculture, the Jewish residents were active in business. The growth of cities naturally led to increased commerce, which in turn introduced the practice of usury, a practice adopted by both Arabs and Jews. This practice would later be prohibited by Islam. We have already observed that religion played a crucial role in shaping the common Arab identity even before the rise of Islam in pre-Islamic Arabia. Religion was a blend of polytheism, Christianity, Judaism, and Iranian beliefs. Arab polytheism, or paganism, was the most widespread belief system, with each tribe, city, and region having its own deity or idol, which served as a patron of that community. Arabs also believed in supernatural beings like jinns. Statues of gods and goddesses were placed in the Kaaba, and some scholars argue that Allah, the deity of Islam and other Abrahamic religions, may have also had a statue in the Kaaba. There are hadiths, though their authenticity is debated, that claim the Kaaba also featured an image of the Virgin Mary and baby Jesus, with Abraham overseeing them. Estimates suggest that the Kaaba housed up to 360 such statues and images. Trade and political interactions with the Byzantine Empire, Ethiopia, Persia, and other neighboring powers also shaped Arabia's religious landscape. As early as the 1st century AD, Arab traders introduced Christianity to Arabia. Others were evangelized by Paul's ministry at St. Thomas, with strong subsequent influence from the Byzantine Empire. For example, the Ghassanid, a vassal kingdom of Rome, converted to Christianity. In the southern part of the region, a significant Christian community emerged in Najran due to influence of Ethiopian Christian kingdom of Aksum. Nestorian Christianity was notable in certain areas, but Monotheicism was the most prevalent denomination. Judaism also had a significant presence in pre-Islamic Arabia due to Roman persecution. Jewish migration to Arabia began as early as the 1st century AD. Many Jews settled in Hejaz, and towns such as Yathrib, Khaybar, Fadak, and al-Qura. Many Arabs also converted to Judaism, often as a condition for settling in Jewish-dominated towns of Hejaz. The Himyarite Kingdom in Yemen converted to Judaism in the 4th century, and some members of the Kindah tribe, vassals of Himyarites, were also converted by the 5th century. Sources also mention a monotheistic region focused on the worship of a single god from Abrahamic faith, though it was not affiliated with Christianity or Judaism, and likely centered on the prophethood of Abraham. Followers of this religion, known as Hanifs, rejected the idolatry and paganism prevalent among the majority of Arabs and shared some features with other Abrahamic religions, such as prohibition of pork. The extent of the Hanifi people's influence is unclear, but some Islamic sources suggest that the Prophet Muhammad and some of his future companions may have been adherent of this faith. Additionally, Arabia had a small minority following Iranian-based religions, such as Zoroastrianism and Monotheism, which spread under Persian influence. In the pre-Islamic period, Arab statehood was relatively uncommon, as Arabia frequently shifted between tribal anarchy and loosely organized states. Nonetheless, several notable states in pre-Islamic Arabia are referenced in Greek, Roman, Mesopotamian, and Persian sources, as well as in oral Arab traditional later, documented by Islamic scholars. According to the classical Arab writers, the Arabs were divided into two main groups: the Yemenites, southern Arabs descended from Qahtan, and the northern Arabs descended from Adnan. These groups exhibited notable differences, including variation in their system of statehood and governance. In southern Arabia, particularly Yemen, there were more established states, all governed as monarchies. In contrast, the northern region was characterized by loose tribal confederations or de facto city-states like Mecca, which were more common forms of statehood and were governed as oligarchies and aristocracies. The south was considered more advanced due to its role as a major trade route in Arabia, before Mecca emerged as an alternative and its greater contact with outsiders, such as Ethiopians beginning in the 4th century. A reverse trend occurred, with many sovereign tribes migrating to the north and coming under northern influence. Consequently, the South Arabian script declined, while the North Arabian script became more widespread. The Thamud tribe or tribal union was among the earliest recorded states in Arabia, noted for its prominence in northwestern Arabia according to Assyrian sources from the 8th century BC. They were later used as auxiliary forces by the Roman Empire. As indicated by Roman sources, in the 3rd century BC, the Greek scholar Eratosthenes mentioned the Minians, Sabinians, Atabinians, and Hadramites as the principal inhabitants of the Arabian Peninsula. Historians also highlight the independent Sabian kingdom located in the present-day Yemen, which was later conquered by the Himyarite Kingdom around 280 AD. The Himyarite Kingdom was one of the most significant pre-Islamic states in the Arabian Peninsula. It was ruled by a monarch, but in practice, power was shared with regional governors who had considerable autonomy, similar to medieval European kingdoms. By the early 4th century AD, the Himyarite Kingdom controlled southern Arabia and expanded north to Najran. Initially polytheistic, the Himyarites converted to monotheism in the 4th century, embracing the Abrahamic God. By the end of 5th century, King Abu Kariba of the Himyarites had adopted Judaism. His son and successor, Yusuf Dunuwas, became even more zealous and began persecuting Christians living in the kingdom. This persecution led to the downfall of the Himyarite dynasty, as Dunuwas was either killed or committed suicide after being defeated by a Christian coalition consisting of the Ethiopian Kingdom of Aksum, the Byzantine Empire, and South Arabian Christians in 524. Christian Ethiopian then take control of the South Arabia, built a church in the Sana to attract pilgrims and trade, thereby shifting commerce away from Mecca. This led to a conflict between Abraha, the Ethiopian viceroy in Yemen, and Mecca, as mentioned in the Quran. Abraha reportedly used war elephants against Mecca, but was unsuccessful and had to retreat. The later half of the 6th century was marked by a power struggle between the Ethiopians and the Sassanians for control over the remnant of Himyarite Kingdom, with the Persian Empire ultimately emerging victorious. Another significant pre-Islamic state in Arabia was the Kindah Kingdom, the first historically documented polity in Central Arabia. It emerged when the Kindah tribe successfully united the various tribes in Najd around the late 5th century. The Kindah Kingdom undertook several successful raids against Byzantine territories in North Arabia, but encountered difficulties with the Sassanid Empire. In 529, the Lakhmid vassals of the Persian defeated and killed King al-Harith bin of the kingdom, leading to the decline of the Kindah state. The Lakhmid kingdom previously mentioned was established in East Arabia by the Banu Lakh tribe around the 3rd to 4th centuries. Initially, the independent Lakhmids posed a threat to the coastal cities of the Sassanid Empire. In 325, the Sassanid Emperor Shapur II launched a campaign against them, which led to the fall of the Lakhmid capital, Hira. Under Sassanid control, from that point on, the Lakhmid kingdom became a vassal of the Sassanid Empire until it was annexed in the early 7th century. The Ghassanid kingdom experienced a similar fate. In the 3rd century AD, a branch of Al-Azd tribe migrated from Yemen to the Levant and established the Ghassanid kingdom as a vassal of the Eastern Roman Empire, with its capital at Jabiha in the Golan Heights. The Ghassanid Empire ceased to exist during the early Islamic expansion. However, none of these kingdoms were sufficiently powerful or centralized to unite the Arabs into a single state or to defend the region from external threats. Most of Arabia was governed by the unwritten rules of Bedouin society, which led to constant warfare and hardship amid already harsh living conditions. Although pre-Islamic Arabs shared a common language and traditions, they were divided by tribal identities, blood feuds, and religion differences. Nevertheless, soon Arabia and beyond the world undergo a profound transformation with the rise of Islam and the creation of a unified Arabic state.